We want to thank you, all of you, for spending the time exchanging and engaging this week. It's been very, very, very great week and great time together. Thank you, my partner.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming for this closing session. I can't imagine that we are already closing. I enjoyed very much seeing you around. It goes very quickly, but we have to do that.
Yeah. So, I promised surprises when I was calling you to come in the room in different languages, you remember? So we're going to deliver on those surprises. So, here's the plan. I'm going to read out for you in very few minutes what my take is from this conference. And my friend and partners here, now we look like twins, right? So, yeah, this is when you do partnership. I said the first day when you work together, you get to know each other, and then you become one team, and you can take the world, right? Yeah. So when I do my reflection on the week, it would also read out what AMCAO has done this week, what the accomplishment of the engagement activities here, and then would come the surprise. So that part I will introduce later, okay? So thank you.
Good.
Thank you. I think
We go this time?
This way. You can.
Okay.
So I want to continue.
That one was.
I think my partner's mic is still on, so if someone want to help with that. So you can criticize people because everyone would know now. So what I said on day one is, when we work together, we can accomplish big things, and that's what I want to focus on. But firstly, the big surprise is really a warm welcome to Minister Nkwinti from South Africa, Minister of Water and Sanitation. You remember when he came here, the story he shared with us. It was in a very remote area, went from Cape Town to a remote area, and had to solve some of the crises there, come down communities and tell them what the benefit of some of the big projects they're doing from the country. And he managed to be here to address this audience and share with the audience how important this is for South Africa and the big investment and program they're doing in South Africa. It's been very generous since we met, and is here to actually give his final remark for these communities. I think this is fantastic. So let's come back to partnership. When we do our work, and we all have strengths and weaknesses. And someone asked me, why this partnership with AMCAO? As the FSM Alliance, we don't have a strong network on policy and policy advisors. And I think we've all learned this week what that means. If we are able to do that in a big convening like this, in a big program like this, imagine what you guys, each of you can accomplish when you go back to your country and be able to pull each other together. Because what happened here, if we can replicate that, and that's what we want to share, and I hope you all understood that. I was in so many small conversations with country delegations, with industry people coming together to learn from each other how we can improve our own technology and how we can make that available to the inspiring speakers who were in all these rooms. I was moved by so many speeches. And going through the week, all this talk can be connected to each other. We had Manuel MTS in the room explaining how challenging it is, but how rewarding it is when you see the benefit, the impact on the kids and the communities. We've heard from partners who are thinking of the policy. Let's do this big framework for Africa. We've heard from leading industry development experts how you build this, how we need to think about the future, and turn what looks like dirty to very exciting, very sexy business, very attractive business, very dignified business. All this, I believe, is achievable. There's many partners who have said, the money is there, but you guys are not asking for it, and you're not accessing it, and we really don't understand why you're not coming with a great project. It's true. The money is there, and people are saying that we don't know how to access. Go back in countries, those partners are sitting there with you. What happened? We have one side here, throwing report or proposal on the other side, and then you receive it, you can't read it. So when I work with Canisius, we sit in rooms, we talk together, he doesn't send me 10 emails, we can resolve that, okay? You can't be sitting in one country together when you have all these opportunities and you don't leverage it. I think if we do that more, some of those questions, how we can unlock opportunities, we can resolve a lot of things like this faster. Everyone who is in the FSM5 committee or AMCAO committee, I think they know that. We had a lot of struggles, planning and executing these conferences, but we went through all those things very quickly. Communication, engagement. So, my take from the week is, let's keep working together. Sanitation is a complex topic. It's not only for sanitary engineer like me. So I'm not talking about how you treat it, right? I'm not making a different type of speech. But I was treated like a very conventional engineer. But then I came to realize, if I only do that, that was my whole frustration my whole life. I have a great technology, let's put it in the field. I have a great technology, why this guy doesn't want to listen to me? And then I realized, maybe I need to talk to someone else. Maybe I need to be in a different team. Yes, I've learned a lot from that. For those who knows where I work at the Gates Foundation, you don't have my twin. You don't have like 10 sanitary engineers around me. No. Me alone is enough. I need other people. And maybe other people need me. And if we can do that, we can work. So this week has been a lot about that. Each single topic we've discussed is very important. For us to make the big progress is how we connect. How we connect those issues. So please go back, be inspired, and talk to each other. You are all champions. You don't have to wait for someone asking you to come in a meeting or in a conversation. You can be the starter. You can be the one kicking this off. And you are not alone. We said we have a house, which is called FSM Alliance, right? If you're lost, go home. You will have food, you have water to drink, you can take a shower, you'll be refreshed. If you're struggling out, call home. That's what we do when at the university when you're struggling and then it's very hard, you go back home and the mom said, okay, you know what? Stay here, I'll cook something for you, and you feel re-energized, and then you go back. Let's use those houses we have to build this community. AMCAO is an important one, the Alliance is an important one, and together we are providing and we can provide enough resources, enough inspiration for everyone to make this work. I was moved by the picture Amaka was sharing this morning when she said, how can we ask this child to wait for 15 years to have access to decent sanitation? It's not possible. My last kids were born in the US. Everywhere they go, they have safe sanitation, everywhere. I was born in Africa. Until I left Africa, I never had safe sanitation. How come? 21st century. So, the political will is there. You've seen the minister. This is like the 5th time he's appearing in these conferences. It's not always very public, but he's here talking to other ministers, engaging them, engaging some of the experts, making sure that we can leverage this moment as well to do something collectively. That's my message to you. I'd like to invite my twin brother to come on stage and read what AMCAO has done and developed and learned over this week. Right.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It is a great privilege and a great honor for me and AMCAO and the whole AMCAO family to have a partner like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and in the person of Dulai. I call him Dulai because he's my twin. Others call him Dr. Kone. Dulai Kone, you have been fantastic. And a good friend brings you many other friends. Now, Africa Sun, AMCAO, we don't feel alone. We have the whole FSM family, and we thank you very much for that. Honorable ministers, before I say my few words, I want to thank you very much for the time you have spent with us since when we started up to now at the closing ceremony. And we were very, very energized to see you in some of the sessions where you sat down and learned from the technical people, learned from those innovators, those scientists, those researchers, bringing new ways of addressing the challenges we have in the sanitation areas. I think it was a very good opportunity to get what happens there. During this week, we broke the ivory tower, which is normally the way we describe our researchers and research institutions, and we came closer to our decision makers and many of our practitioners. I personally went home with some of the technologies which appear to be like miracles, and which soon, when I sit down in my office, I will start sharing with colleagues in different member states, and also colleagues and partners in different banks and other development partners' office. I will have two very quick parts of my intervention here. The people who participated in different dialogues, they produce a lot of new push to implement the commitment, the Ngo commitment, and the vision which is contained in them to change, to transform, as the theme says, the landscape of the sanitation in Africa. And I want to share with you a few slides, just a couple of them, on what those countries said before I read for you the call for action, which comes from the stakeholders who met and discussed during the 3-4 days. So the first thing I want to tell you is that the dialogue brought together 39 countries of this continent to discuss issues pertaining to the sanitation issues. And those 39 countries, you can see them on this map. And what they discussed, where do I point it? I don't know. No. That's good, I'm sorry. So it is 36 countries met and discussed, and they decided to exchange the knowledge, the experiences they have, but also the priorities they have at their own countries, and then committed on continuation of the engagement they started during this week. I think that prioritization, that engagement to continue is very key, and that is one of the things we talked about when we started these conferences. We said we want to start something which will continue. And the prioritization is like this. Some of the countries said, we want to prioritize the first Ngor commitment, that is on eliminating the inequalities. And those discussed a number of actions they need to take on board during the 12 months from now to next year. And those are the activities which they said they will undertake, carrying out studies to identify the number of vulnerable people, where they are, and what they require to address that issue of inequality. And then work with technologies, those who generate innovations, to see what they can do to address those different inequalities. We think that that is great for the 3 countries that have prioritized that activity. Others prioritized, took the priority number 2. And that number 2 is on resources. And then they decided that they will work very hard to identify, to do plans at national level, to quantify them, and then to source for resources so that they can get enough money to do something which will impact their populations in the area of sanitation. And that will go along with intersectoral committees which will work towards that objective. Some other countries selected the commitment 3 of Ngor. And this is on budget, improving the budget of countries. And again, the number of activities they took to change the way decision makers are approaching this, to involve them more, to involve institutional triggers so that they can have a budgetary allocation from countries which will be responsive to the needs of those countries. And some other countries selected the commitment 5, which is to develop strategies which will bridge sanitation and hygiene and also human resource capacity to be increased. As you know, and that was said also during the beginning of this conference, we still have a problem of capacity, and capacity building is one of the key things. And those 2 countries decided that they need to identify those needs they have and identify how they can bridge that gap which currently exists. The last group discussed on how to ensure inclusive, safely managed sanitation as one of the key things. And those countries put in place again strategies which will enable them to advocate effectively and improve the services with all what it takes. And here, education, health, and other sectors will be part of the key partners to come up with. When we began this conference, we said one of the things which we expected to break the barriers between different categories of stakeholders and participants we have here. In that country dialogue, spontaneously, countries decided to continue the engagement, exchange experiences and knowledge during the course of the 12 years where we will again commit to evaluate the progress they have made. You can see the arrows which show countries and their partners with whom they will make exchanges. It is amazing, and it is also rewarding to see that that commitment has been taken by themselves, and that everyone has something to put on the table. Every country has a good experience, despite the many challenges they may have. And in the blue bubbles, you can see the focus the countries expressed as areas of that collaboration on the exchange of information and knowledge. So this is something which will continue during the next 12 months, and we congratulate and thank the countries very much for that commitment they have taken. I think AMCAO is very proud of that initiative and will be glad to continue providing support in monitoring, but also in some other activities which will be related to strengthening the capacity of those countries. Allow me now to very quickly come to the declaration which came from all those different dialogues. The document which came out of the dialogues, first of all, what are the dialogues we provided forum here during this week? We had country dialogue. Those are specifically member states, representative of government, those directors and other experts coming from our countries and working directly with the ministries responsible for sanitation and related areas. We had also private sector dialogue. We had civil society dialogue. We have local authority. Those are elected authorities which are at the levels where they can really make an impact on the communities. Smaller communities, but a very impactful one. And we have a development partners dialogue. So we had 5 different groups talking about their own specific issues, challenges, but also the opportunity to work together to contribute in a more significant way to providing solutions which will make us transform the sanitation environment in Africa. They all came up with very specific sets of commitment that they will undertake during the period from now to when we meet again for Africa Sun 6. Those are in a document of 6 pages, which you will find online, and it will be very informative to know what those different groups are committed to do in support to the vision and commitments of Ngor. But here, I will read a summary which represents what they called the multi-stakeholder call to action. It reads this: we, the stakeholders participating at the 5th Africa Sun Conference in Cape Town, remain committed to the Ngor vision of achieving universal access to adequate and sustainable sanitation and hygiene services, and eliminate open defecation by 2030, and to the SDG targets on sanitation and hygiene, leaving no one behind. We recognize the actions many countries have taken and take note of the examples of good practice shared here at Africa Sun 5 during the country dialogue sessions, thematic sessions, and related workshops. We reaffirm the Ngor commitment on sanitation and hygiene, and further commit to redoubling our own efforts to work collaboratively in support of governments in their efforts to achieve the Ngor vision and SDG targets. We appreciate the role AMCAO has played in coordinating the Africa Sun process. We call on AMCAO to continue to support the Ngor Vision Commitment Monitoring process and strengthen the approach to better evaluate progress in hygiene through disaggregation of dedicated monitoring indicators, and to utilize the result to drive evidence-based decision-making at the highest levels within national governments. Recognizing the sanitation crisis on the continent, we call upon the African Union to place greater emphasis on sanitation and hygiene as an important agenda of the Assembly of the African Union Heads of State and Government. This will also serve as a review of the 2008 Sharm el-Sheikh commitments for accelerating the achievement of water and sanitation goals to ensure alignment with the aspiration of the Africa Agenda 2063, the Africa we want, the SDG sanitation targets, and the Ngo vision and commitments. We also call upon heads of states of the African Union to declare a state of emergency on sanitation and hygiene, and to be the sanitation and hygiene champions in their respective countries. That is, honorable ministers, honorable and distinguished participants, the declaration, the dialogues came up. I thank you very much. Thank you. Now, allow me to take the privilege and honor to invite Honorable Minister, our host minister, Minister Nkwinti, to come here and address you during this closing session. I'm still thinking of opening.
Thank you very much, terrific twins. We have got two great individuals who have brought us together here. We wish to salute them both. And I thought that as they were standing here, gee, these are terrific twins. Thank you very much, doctors. My colleagues and excellencies, the deputy ministers sitting there with me who have been my colleagues and friends. Now I know I will not this. I will not communicate. Because I shared this experience that I went to Liberia with a colleague, a parliamentarian from Ghana, immediately after the end of the civil war there. So we spent a week there to train parliamentarians, the first parliament after the civil war. So when we were parting and we stopped over in Ghana, coming to South Africa, and my colleague was shaking, we were shaking, and he said, you know, you South Africans are very poor communicators. I know it's the last time that I communicate with you now. And indeed, we never communicated. So I can assure you, my colleague and brother, that we'll communicate. You know, my colleagues who have made it possible for all of us, you are all saluted, protocol observed. Now, I have a long list here. I know that all of these beautiful individuals here, they have done so well for all of us, our continent and our world. So I salute you all. Allow me to then say, all protocol observed. Beautiful South Africans, beautiful Africans, beautiful world citizens who are here. So I'm not going to read the speech. I'm going to make a few comments in closing. One of the things I did the day before yesterday, after having exchanges with my colleagues, again, we were led by the terrific twins in those engagements. Those brothers, you actually made me go back. As soon as I went out here, I asked the acting DG, please send the DDG responsible for planning, monitoring, and evaluation. And she flew all the way. She joined, yesterday she joined this session because of what I had learned from the engagements, the interactions that we had, and the extent to which we wanted, in terms of those engagements, we wanted to speak with one voice and act, particularly act in unison to change the lives of our people insofar as sanitation is concerned. Here in South Africa, we say, we have a slogan in the Department of Water and Sanitation that reads, "Water is life, sanitation is dignity." So we have to live up to that, because it cannot just be a slogan. And I'm even more convinced, having sat here, and in this, there's a boardroom somewhere where we're going to go, we've been engaging in. I learned a lot from my colleagues, the deputy ministers who participated there, and it made it even clearer in my mind that there is more to be done to achieve the objectives and goals that have been set here. That brought us here in the first instance. But I want to say that in doing so, in trying to achieve the goals that we set ourselves to achieve, to pursue here, it cannot be achieved, those goals cannot be achieved, rather, unless we work together, not just in conferences and plan, but work together on the ground. Do these things together. Because if we keep on talking, we will evaluate ourselves, not on the basis of the outcomes of what we decide, but on the basis of whether or not another conference has been arranged or not arranged. And that serves only our own interests, not the interests of the people out there who are looking up to us and saying, unless they did something, our lives will not change. But the commitment that I learned here, from the interactions that we had, the commitments that I heard here are such that when I report to our government, I will not only report, it's not just a confidence in me that's been built by engagements here with my colleagues and with the leadership. But I will also it has actually deepened and strengthened the commitment I had. Suddenly, it's funny this, suddenly I realized that waterless sanitation is actually such an important thing. I didn't know that it was an important thing. I did that one time, as I said, in a village in the Eastern Cape called Chaguba, those who come from South Africa. In my other life as a member of the executive of the provincial government, we built this village. I was responsible for housing. So we built this village, and we got a company. That's about 10 years ago. Got a company to build waterless sanitation for these households. I haven't gone back there, and I haven't heard anybody say anything. And I'm from now on, because of you have empowered me with this deeper understanding of the significance of that technology. It's you. I said to Desigan, he's our chief Desigan. You know Des, Naidu. I said, I'm going to call him very soon and ask him to come with me. We go to that village. So that he can then, from a technical point of view, a scientific point of view, assess how over the last 10 years has this technology worked. These are villagers. I will do that, and when you read about that, Desigan likes pictures. And he'll take pictures of this. When he does that and he shows you next time, you must know it is because of you. Because I've been around there, even 2 weeks ago, I was at Port St. John's. I didn't go there. But now I will not go there when I go to, because of you. When you read about that, when he shows you pictures and he listens to people talking, you must know you are responsible for me for deepening rather my understanding and knowledge of the importance of this waterless sanitation, because of the emphasis you've put on sanitation in terms of the lives of our people, the dignity of our people. I am happy. I'm happy to have been empowered by this conference. Lastly, because here we have proposed that water and sanitation as twins. I don't know whether those are terrible twins or terrific twins as well, but you must empower me there, even if when I sit there, docs, the doctors will help me there, and my colleagues will also help me. I had they were very, very empowering yesterday and the last 2 days, in fact. You know what? One of the things that we take for granted is that water will always be available. And therefore, when we think about sanitation, we always say, okay, we must have water. Water is always there, therefore, and so on. So therefore, I mean, rather, when we think that way, it actually portrays lack of understanding on our part as politicians. You always assume that politicians know everything. We don't. We don't know everything. It's just that we are confident, we talk as if we know everything. We don't. You know, the villagers in our country, at least, the villagers in our country go to open edification. In the bush, they go to the bush in our country. I imagine that they've become so used to it. They think it's normal. Yet it is not normal. Now, from now on, the reason I called that DDG is because of you saying, this is important, it should not happen. You actually name it. You say open defecation. Didn't you say so? You say so. We are even afraid to call it that way. You were so brutally frank about it. You shook my conscience and I said, no, that DDG must come here because I want her to develop a plan for the country. Because of you. Ndilega, where are you? There's she. That's why you are here. Because I thought, what we have been taking for granted is so serious. Immediately I called, said she comes. She's here. She's going to have to put together a plan for the country. That's again. Where are you? You are sitting, yeah, he's here. You are going to be in trouble because you contributed to that trouble for yourself with the terrific twins and the house at large. So next time when you meet with them, ask them about the national plan and what results on the ground. Please do help me on that one, dogs. Because I'm standing here now understanding exactly that no, we have to do it. We must have a national plan, not just for water, but primarily for sanitation. Therefore, the technical teams that just again helped me put together on the 10th of November, because such a dynamic fellow. Now I have a better understanding of the import of those 50 stalls that I visited. I walked through 50 stalls to see what they had, etc. Because of you. Thank you very much. On behalf of the South African government and our continent at large, I thank all of you for participating in this conference. May this be the beginning of a rich and fulfilling journey towards a transformed, accessible, equitable, and quality sanitation system for our great continent. I wish all those who will be traveling home a safe journey. On that note, I declare Africa Sun 5 and FSM 5 closed. I thank you for the privilege. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. What an inspiring personality. I told you there was a surprise, I think. This was a great surprise. Let's thank again the Minister. So, when we meet next time, it would be FSM 6, right? Oops. Okay, it would be FSM 6. So what would happen at FSM 6? This is a community where we measure ourselves, how we make progress. This is what we came here to do. This is what we came here to share. So each of us is also individual contributor to SDGs. We don't have to wait for countries to blame countries and praise countries. We can do that for ourselves at FSM 6. So when we meet again, let's make sure that we have more progress to show. In every domain, academia, industry, case studies, country program, donor funding, there's more money that can actually be disbursed, and pit MTS are having great technologies and building businesses. That's how we measure our own progress. It's not the fault of countries. Each of us can make a big difference. So when we meet again, as a big community like this, we want to make sure that we are very proud to be in this business. Okay? So make sure that we stick to that commitment, and when we meet, we can celebrate again. Right?
Yes. And on the Africa Sun side, we have gotten more than what we expected. Have you heard the minister? Tomorrow we'll have a plan, and the plan will change the whole of several tens of millions of people who are still having some issues with sanitation. It is a Marshall Plan taking place in South Africa because of this Africa Sun movement. I think it is a great thing. And I believe that when we meet in 2021, toward the end, we don't have yet the date, it will be around November 2021. I think that time we will have more representative of the policymakers, and we will drive from the head, the movement, to a greater height. Meanwhile, the technocrats have made their commitment. They will be working with you, FSM, to bring the innovations we need so that really the following period can be one of that very great leapfrog in the sanitation area.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister from Ghana, from Burundi, allow us to thank the great people, like you said, Minister, who help us organizing all this. So they're in the room. You can stand up, people will see you. We can't name every individual. Can we have light in the room and see all the organizing committees? The AMCAO committee, the FSM committee, Water Research Commission. Jessica, and everyone knows you. You need to stand up also. Thank you.
The Africa Sun International Task Force. Africa Sun International Task Force, AMCAO staff, and all of you who have put so many hours to discuss on Skype, to put things together so that this week can be what it is, a colorful and very rich one. Thank you very much.
So let's go back and change the world. Keep changing the world for the best, okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, my friend.
Let me also take this opportunity to welcome you to the 5th edition of the International Fecal Sludge Management Conference. The South African government is proud that this event is being held in South Africa at a time when sanitation issues are high on the agenda of nations across the world.
The Africa Sun process can be traced from 2002, when the first Africa Sun conference was held here in South Africa. Indeed, UNICEF and WHO have referred to poor sanitation and open defecation as Africa's greatest nightmare.
So events such as this also have a significant role to play in raising awareness of the challenges we face and showing us how to better manage these challenges.
The biggest disease burdens in the world today are indeed disease burdens that do not belong to the 21st century. The 21st century should not be dealing with diarrhea as a major cause of morbidity and mortality. It's just wrong.
The department uses the slogan, "Water is life, sanitation is dignity." While water is required for our existence, going to the toilet is a basic human need. Most of our urbanized areas have toilets that are reliant on water availability, without which they cannot function as intended. In our rural areas, water availability also determines the type of toilet facility provided. Usually, these are on-site technologies that do not require expensive sewage infrastructure to function. Part of the challenge we're having, which is why we need this kind of conference, perhaps taking it beyond these walls here, taking it beyond these walls to explain to our people, because today they still, if you go to where I was yesterday, the deep rural areas, when we tell people that, look, we show, because we are workshopping them and showing them this is water reservoir, this is wastewater treatment works, and this is a distribution point lines, etc. They're coming to your houses, but the water comes back to this wastewater treatment works for cleaning up so that it can go back. It's that's what they do. So there's a lot of education that is required.
Partners we have here in the room can create synergistic cooperation between politics, administration, science and practitioners, which is vital for us to reach those people in greatest needs.